If I told you today that you needed to forgive someone, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? How does it feel in your chest? How does it feel in your stomach? Forgive someone, but you don't understand what they've done. You don't understand how it made me feel and the effect it had on my life. I know I'm supposed to forgive, but I just can't let go. Well, this episode might just be for you, my friend, because I'm speaking with Bethany Nicole, who is an author and a relationship expert, and she is lovingly allowing me to coach her using our Nest Health system in a bioenergetic business coaching scan. The theme of her scan, you guessed it, ding, 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 is all about forgiveness. If you want to learn a different way to think about forgiveness and some easier / harder tools to get to the place where you are lighter in your heart and your spirit because you know how to forgive, then this episode is for you. All right, let's go.
Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. This is the place where you and your fellow empire-building entrepreneurs come to vanquish the burnout monster and boost your glow and cash flow with energy alignment techniques and tried and true marketing strategies. Since 7 figures won't get itself, hit that subscribe button and never miss out on your chance to skyrocket profits, tap into your intuition, and manifest your dreams. And now, your host, Powerhouse Story Brand Certified Guide, award-winning marketer, BioEnergetic Business Coach, and Japanese whiskey lover, Alea Harris.
When new clients start with me, whether it's usually in their bioenergetic coaching session, their very first one, most likely we need to do some excavation of their emotional state, their mental state, before we can replenish with what they need to move forward for their highest good. Excavation means that you remove any of the blockages that are holding you back. You can't just put a Band-Aid on them or hug them out or pretend like they don't exist. You actually have to address the issue. So, excavation usually begins with forgiveness. I like to use a tool called Forgiveness and Light, and you can find this tool along with many others inside of our recalibration guide by going to flourishmarketing.co/recalibrate. flourishmarketing.co/recalibrate. Forgiveness and Light is a really simple exercise, but don't let simplicity allow you to think that it's not effective. You sit with a candle in front of you. That's the light part. And you speak forgiveness into it. That's the forgiveness part. All of the time when people do this, I suggest that they use this as an excavation exercise. And the very first piece of forgiveness that they speak into the candle is, I forgive myself for judging myself. Well, a lot of the times people are taken aback by that. I forgive myself for judging myself. What does it even mean? Forgiving yourself for judging yourself is forgiving yourself for saying that was wrong, that was bad, I should do something different, I should be something different, I shouldn't have said that. Whatever is happening is what is meant to be happening. It's the direction that you should be moving in. But you judge it. You judge the present moment and you put your opinions on what is happening. And your opinions then contort your reality into something that is probably not even reality anymore. So you judge yourself. You put a lot of expectations onto yourself without even realizing it most of the time. As you judge yourself and the judgments pile up, it makes it very difficult to see that true, authentic self that lives in the depths of your soul. By saying, I forgive myself for judging myself, you're releasing yourself from the burden of having an opinion about your own actions. You do not need to have an opinion. You are not required to have emotional commentary on everything that you do. What you're required to do is to keep your eye on the highest good and move in that direction, realizing that the journey might not look exactly like how you think it will. As you speak into the candle and you say, I forgive myself for judging myself, then you just let her rip. You forgive yourself for, you forgive your father, you forgive your mother, you forgive yourself for making that decision, you forgive yourself for feeling resentment, you forgive yourself for judging for feeling resentment, all of the things. And then when you are done, when you feel complete, when you feel like in that moment you can't come up with anything else to forgive, you say aloud, I forgive myself for forgetting that I am divine. You forget that you are divine when you judge, when you even enter into something that you feel like needs to be forgiven and don't have that higher level perspective that truly everything is as it should be, and that you are perfect and wonderful as you are. So forgiving yourself for judging yourself and then forgiving yourself for forgetting you are divine, bookending your forgiveness experience allows you to tap into the realness, the trueness of your story. So even without the candle and your forgiveness and light, today's mantra is, I forgive myself for judging myself. I forgive myself for judging myself. Say it with me. I forgive myself for judging myself. I forgive myself for judging myself. The very first time I had someone tell this to me, I had to say it many times before I even really grasped what it meant and how I could and should apply it to my life so that I could release some of that burden to excavate what was no longer serving me. So this might be one of those mantras that you need to repeat over and over and over again in order to land on that centered place where it resonates in your heart. Again, if you want to read more about forgiveness and light or any other of our exercises, you can go to flourishmarketing.co/recalibrate and download our 20, 30 plus page recalibration guide that is chock full of things to help you along your journey. Helping along the journey is exactly what I'm doing in this episode today with Bethany Nicole. Bethany Nicole is an LA-based author, freelance writer, and a relationship expert. She works with couples and individuals to help them create the love life they desire. In this episode, though, we're turning the tables and we're focusing our efforts on Bethany herself and her relationship with, you guessed it, herself. It's so funny to me how much we try to help other people and we do help other people. And then the things that are coming out of our mouths are the things that we need ourselves. This episode is not only me helping Bethany, but me helping me. Coaches need coaches. Coaches need people to tell them what is happening with themselves. And basically, every episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast can be applied to my own life. A lot of these lessons and advice and the questions I ask are from a selfish perspective. But this one in particular, I really resonated with, and I hope that you do as well. All right, now let's dive in to talking with Bethany.
This episode is brought to you by BioEnergetic Business Coaching by Flourish Marketing. Do you wake up feeling tired? You can't build your empire if you're cranky and exhausted. If you're fed up with fighting a losing battle against the burnout monster, it's time to fix the root causes of your issues and get aligned. Turn up the wattage on your glow and cash flow with effective business strategies. BioEnergetic Business Coaching is for growth-getting entrepreneurs who know they need to make a change to see better results and reach their goals. If you want to unblock your energy and unleash abundance, head to www.flourishmarketing.co/coaching to become a client. Now's your chance to step into the role of CEO, Chief Energy Officer, and flourish in business and life. Go to www.flourishmarketing.co/coaching to get started.
Hi, Bethany. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, these episodes are some of my favorite episodes because they allow people to experience themselves through the lens of someone else in a coaching episode. What we've done, our wonderful listeners, we've already done Bethany's BioEnergetic Business Coaching scan. Her BioEnergetic Business Coaching scan revealed her energy field and the imbalances within her energy field, where she is aligned, where she is misaligned. And I remind everybody before you get judgy out there and you're like, oh, she's so misaligned. I bet I'm so much more aligned than her. That's not true. No one is going to be 100% aligned. If you're looking on YouTube or if you're clicking on in the show notes for the screenshots, you will see that there's different colors. It goes from gray to purple. And we focus on the purple areas, and I look for themes within your scan to help you unblock your energy and unleash your abundance. When we're doing that, though, you're going to be like, why isn't it all gray? That's my goal. I'm really talking to my type A people. That's what we were talking. If your scan was all gray, you would be dead, because we are always in progress. And today there's a certain theme that Bethany finds ironic, and I just chuckle about it, that has come up in her scan. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so that the folks on YouTube can see. And right now I'm looking at Bethany's life journey screen in her life purpose section. Her life purpose is all about the journey that she's on, the choices that she is making, and how she can best move forward with those choices and where she's blocked. Bethany, on your screen, the things that are priority are creator, forgiveness, and empathy. And I remind everybody, we don't just look at one screen and I'm like, this is what's going on. I've looked at the trend across the scan so that we can get an in-depth view. But this screen just kind of said it all.
You really summed it up.
Yeah, it was like, just in case you were unclear about what's happening. So Bethany, talk to me about your relationship with forgiveness.
Yeah, so like we talked about, it's very ironic because it really is such a focal point of my life. My book is called Apologies I Never Got, and it's learning to give yourself apologies that you never got. And I studied it, studied the concepts of forgiveness. My degree's in philosophy, and one of the classes I took was about the different religions' answers to forgiveness. So it's been such a focal point of my life, and it's just so ironic that it showed up so brightly lit that it needs work. But yeah, that's really my relationship with it. It's just trying to understand it on deeper levels, I guess.
That could very well be. It also could show on your skin because it is such a focal point of your life. So talk to me though about when you're studying forgiveness, you have a burning question or some burning questions left about forgiveness. What are those questions that you still have?
I guess where it really, I guess where it really gets me is, the intentionality behind it. Like, at what point, if someone's not sorry and all of that, like, I know deeply forgiveness is about yourself, but I think where I personally get stuck on it is just kind of that reactive, like, well, they did this very obviously bad and intentionally wrong thing to me. So like, the first reaction I have is like the Scorpio moon of like, let me retaliate. And then after work on that, it's kind of like, it's just really hard to let it go because it's like, well, they're not even sorry. Why should I forgive them for that? And that's where I on a personal level, I feel like get really stuck and have to do a lot of work around it. And so I guess, yeah, my question is too, I think on a philosophical level is like, are there things that are unforgivable? And like, at what level does that stop? And yeah, I think that's kind of the burning question that's always, and are there limits, I guess? Are there limits to forgiveness? And if so, what are they? And I think that's really been kind of a driving force in it as well.
I have another question for you. What is your reaction to the thought that God made all people, God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it, made all people, and we're all here, but why do bad things happen to good people?
Um, so I actually really believe in like reincarnation and soul lessons and different things like that. That's more my belief system. So I believe it's kind of like case by case, but I think generally speaking, my personal opinion is that we come and choose our lifetimes, and we choose them to get lessons. We choose them to act out a karma. So maybe in a past lifetime you were doing the killing, and in this one you've switched the role to like be killed, or that you intentionally wanted to experience something, so you brought it into your lifetime. So that's kind of how I view like bad things happening to good people, that they're equipped to handle it because they've chosen it on some like very spiritual aspect and for a very, divine purpose. So that's kind of where I feel like it comes in. So that's, I guess, my belief system, but it definitely is so difficult when it's on your personal level of like, but this person really intentionally did this. And like, even though on a bigger level, you're like, I know that this is, to help me grow as a soul and learn this experience. I think when it gets to the personal, it's really hard to keep those philosophies tight. But I think that's definitely kind of the backdrop of it.
It sounds to me like you are having a conflict between philosophy and feeling. I can believe one thing in my head, and my heart's like, you full of crap. And we down here, further down in the body, we do not subscribe to that because it hurts, and it hurts here, right here in my heart. I can feel it. So no matter what you are thinking about it or what your head thinks about it, it doesn't feel valid. And that conflict will keep you rolling around that question until you reconcile the conflict between philosophy and feeling. Think about the last time you actually felt forgiveness, truly released forgiveness. Can you describe what that felt like in your body and or your emotions?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that I've really worked on the most is like around my father, and that took years to really work through. But it feels, I mean, there's relief to it, but there's also just like this beautiful neutrality where there's no real emotion attached to it anymore. It's like the ability to see it for what it is, and just a very wounded person acting out these wounds. Like, and I think that's the concept like I try to apply to all of them, but it just takes so much. But when it is that neutrality, it's like almost looking at like a wounded animal or something, that they're in so much pain, they're just lashing out. And if you happen to be in the crosshairs of that, or if you're the one maybe even hitting on the wound unintentionally, then you're going to get this reaction. But it's it's not personal, it's just how it's playing out. And so for me, that's when I know I've hit the forgiveness level, is when I can get to that neutrality of seeing it like it is what it is, I guess. But if there's still any kind of emotion, even if it's like reactive, like, oh, I don't care, I'm like, oh no, you do care. You're triggered. Like, but yeah, so for me, I guess it feels there's relief in it, but there's also just like a kind of take it or leave it neutrality of it's whatever.
Some of that lives in your heart, but most of what you said lives in your head because you've processed that information. I'm going to ask the question again. How does it feel to you? What feeling words? Because neutrality is a feeling, but it's more of a intellectual feeling. It's not the same type of feeling as happiness, joy, excitement, peace. My chest feels lighter. I can actually move my shoulders back. How would you describe what you just said that was more of a cerebral feeling as a more grounded feeling?
I guess it would be kind of compassion and kind of an empathy. Like I get it. Like that would be so painful to be in that scenario that you're causing that pain, and like, and an empathy of like, we've all been there. We've all done that, where we've just been destroying ourselves and everyone around us. And like, so there's like, I guess it lives in my heart as compassion of like, I'm so sorry this is happening to you, that you're in this level of pain, that this is what's going on. It's compassion. I'm about to go like cerebral again, so I'm trying not to. I was gonna say
you're still there. So one of the things that I've noticed when you're describing we're going to call them cerebral feelings, is that you are in your head and you can't get out. And you also are describing how you feel in relationship to the other person, not how you feel just as yourself. You're not saying, I feel light, I feel joyful, I feel free. It's, I'm relating to this person in this way now, which means that there's still not a full, it's almost like you're not turning around and looking at yourself emotionally to how that experience has affected where you've been and where you're going and who you are now. You're focused on the goal journey of that person, and you're holding that person as your end result. How am I going to feel towards this person, as opposed to just how am I going to feel? You said it yourself. Forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness is an internal thing for where you are in your heart. And those burning questions that you have, I really do feel like are laying at the intersection of what am I thinking and what am I feeling, and turning around and looking at yourself just for yourself without having that other person in your mind. Because it's funny from my perspective, as humans, when we forgive, we do say things like, I forgive you for blah, 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 blah. I forgive my father. And we do forgiveness exercises with some person in mind. But it's almost like you're going to the gym and you're lifting barbells and you're like, I'm doing these reps, right? And I'm lifting, I don't go to I do Pilates, but those are barbells, right? Okay. So you're lifting the barbells or you're lifting the weights, and you're like, I've trained to lift these weights, but you're not training to lift the weights. You're training to be strong in life in general. So when you're focusing on forgiveness of one person, you're in training to learn how to forgive, and the forgiveness process for yourself, not necessarily just to forgive that one person. That's the gym. Forgiving your father is being in the gym. And you learn to flex and stretch and strengthen that forgiveness muscle. Now use what you learned from that gym time in yourself, in your regular life, in your internal landscape that has nothing to do with your father. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think, yeah, I've really separated a lot from my heart and my body just because of different traumas and different things. So it is, yeah, something additional I'm working on to get out of the head and more into the heart of like how I feel about things. But it's a hard, I mean, it's a hard spot,
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I should
so
have said that in my little intro, that I'm going to say things to you and I'm going to say them as if it's like, so go do this now. Boom. Like, I don't understand like why this is not done. I am not saying that any of this is easy. My job is to just listen and to kind of come back to you with what I'm seeing, and then you work on it over time. The things that we're talking about now could be years. the beautiful thing about spirit is that it could be years or it could be moments. When you have those flashes and you're like, oh my God, I get it. Oh my God, thank you. I'm done. Like, so have you ever felt that feeling? Like, actually, I am officially healed from that thing.
Yeah.
Like that. But it's not me saying that any of it will be easy at all. And you've already done a great job to even have this be your question, as opposed to a lot of people who are working through forgiveness. They don't even know they're working through forgiveness, and they're stuck in anger. They're stuck in resentment. They're stuck in self-harm and self-sabotage. They haven't even gotten anywhere near where you've gotten. And if you're listening and that's you, forgiveness might be your next step. I want to show one other thing here on your scan. I'm switching screens to your energy strength screen, and I want to highlight two things here. The first thing that I want to highlight is that your muscles, your overall muscle system is calling for addressing. Muscles are linked to stress and trauma. And when you've been in a process so in depth as you've been in, Bethany, you just kind of like how physically, if you go to the gym too much, you get tired, your body gets tired. You're kind of in that place, and you've had a lot of trauma and stress in your life. One of the things that also is showing up as a priority is source. And source is that life energy. It powers your energy everywhere else. I would recommend to you to think about your current process from a slightly different perspective. You are very spiritual. You are technically spiritual, like I say, like I call them tarot cards, but one of my clients calls it the tarot, and it made me feel so fancy. So now I call them tarot cards because why not? You know the tarot. You're very good at astrology. You have lots of technical spirituality and also spirituality, right? Akashic records, past lives, all of that wonderful stuff. But I bet, and this is just a hunch based on our current conversation, I bet that when you are pulling these things and using these tools, you are also using your intellectual emotions to process the information, not necessarily your emotions, the ones in your heart, the ones that live in your body. Understanding where this feels for you in your body. What is sore? What clenches up? What releases? What gets tense in your body as you move through these experiences using all these tools? I know this because of what we've said, and I also know this because it's a little autobiographical. When I get too caught up in my oracle cards or my pendulum or the scans and all of that, I lose focus on where all of this information is coming from and what it's meant to do, which is to guide us and have tools to guide us through, like you said, this lifetime and the karma and the journey that we're on. I would recommend to you, and I've recommended this to another one of my clients, and she actually quite enjoyed it. Take a week, not with your clients, this is just for you. Take a week and put down the tools. I know, don't look at the astrology chart, don't flip a card, don't do any of it. Put down all the tools, and you get to do one thing. You get to sit, it could be for 5 minutes, it could be for 2 hours, daily, and breathe. You're going to focus on the in breath, you're going to focus on the out breath, and you're going to focus on breathing in the love that surrounds you and that's in you. And where does that feel in your body? Where do you feel that in your emotions? Does it bring up? It's amazing when you focus on your breath and don't turn it into a tool, because what'll happen is you'll be like, oh, well, maybe I need to breathe in for 7 and I need to breathe out. And then maybe I then need to work from my belly breath. And then I didn't say all of that. I said you need to sit and breathe with your eyes closed in a comfortable position and pay attention. And that's it. And when you do that, a lot of the times clarity comes and release comes that can't come when you're focused on the tool or your intellectual emotions.
Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, you're not the first person to tell me that this week.
Week, oh my. The universe is firing in your favor, Bethany.
Wow.
Well, whoever that other person is brilliant. So I obviously. And I hope that you're hearing us.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the same week, Bethany, for realsies.
I know. They encouraged me to get like a little water fountain too, to like bring in some of the more receptive, and yeah. So I feel like it's basically two people in the universe this week telling me to like chill the F out, like just put it down. Like,
pretty much put it down, get back to basics. I see this with a lot of practitioners because you want to be, especially you, right? I know you. You're like, I want to be the best at this. I want to help people. I really want to help people. You study it, you get into it so that you can help people. And then you use it obviously on yourself because why not?
mm-hmm.
You get caught up in the learning and the focus of knowing your craft so well that we get lost. The same thing happens to me. It happens to a lot of practitioners that are in the healing profession, that are in the coaching profession. So you need to get back to basics. And the most basic thing you got is your breath and the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so glad that I'm corroborating a story.
Yeah.
So Bethany, talk to me. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, that definitely all really resonated, obviously. Yeah, it's almost like hard, like I have a reaction to it of like resistance.
No.
Like, yeah, that's what it feels like. Like I just want to be like, no. Like,
that's normal. That is totally normal. The other client who I gave this very similar homework to, she had to she left the session and I could see her face was like, all right, whatever. She was all, it was so funny in the beginning that she's like, oh my God, I'm having a session with Alea. I'm so excited. She's going to tell me all this stuff and I'm going to use all my tools. At the end, she goes, whatever. Then she had to like vox her to process what I was saying over multiple days until she had basically convinced herself that what I was saying was what she needed to do. So the resistance is real because I'm asking you to leave a safety blanket and basically all of them at once cold turkey.
yeah.
I'm asking you to leave what you know works. But I'm also telling you to go back what you really know works. The whole point of astrology and tarot and whatever else we do is to tap into spirit. But you don't actually need those things to tap into spirit. Anybody can do it. You just need to sit there. Spirit's there waiting for you. It's just a little harder, right? It's not as clear. You don't get to read read it in a book or read it on a chart, right?
Yeah. It's definitely like letting go. I mean, it's definitely letting go of control or perceived control of everything.
Yes. So Bethany, what is the homework that me and this glorious other person have given you? Say it back to me. Maybe it'll help pull down some of the resistance.
Okay. I have to get a fountain and sit quietly in front of it and focus on my breath.
Yep. It sounds so simple, but it's like the hardest homework, right?
No, that is like it. So if you had told me go read a 1,000-page book and like write me an essay, I would have been like, yes, let's do it. This is far harder. Yeah.
And people, there's so many apps and so many meditations and so many all of the things because people are really looking to do the easier version. There are all ways for us to tap into spirit. And people go to psychic mediums and people have their Akashic records read and astrology and have their astrology read. And those are all wonderful. I do all of the above. But we're doing it because we sometimes don't believe in our own ability to tap in without those things. Or we don't believe that we hear properly. That's part of my imposter syndrome. Am I hearing? Is that spirit or is that just the side of my voice that's on the left side of my head or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Doing it this way involves you having a lot of trust in yourself and your intuition and your natural perception abilities that sometimes get shrouded and clouded when we use too many tools. But you are very perceptive. Like everyone, you are an intuitive, powerful creator. So all you need to do is to tap into that place the hard way by breathing. Bethany, do you have any comments, questions, or concerns as we wrap up today?
No, that was wonderful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for joining me. And I wish you lots of love, light, and abundance today and every day.
This episode is brought to you by BioEnergetic Business Coaching by Flourish Marketing. Do you wake up feeling tired? You can't build your empire if you're cranky and exhausted. If you're fed up with fighting a losing battle against the burnout monster, it's time to fix the root causes of your issues and get aligned. Turn up the wattage on your glow and cash flow with effective business strategies. BioEnergetic Business Coaching is for growth-getting entrepreneurs who know they need to make a change to see better results and reach their goals. If you want to unblock your energy and unleash abundance, head to www.flourishmarketing.co/coaching to become a client. Now's your chance to step into the role of CEO, Chief Energy Officer, and flourish in business and life. Go to www.flourishmarketing.co/coaching to get started.
Forgiveness is a tricky one, isn't it? You think you've forgiven, then it comes back, then you see that person at a bar and you're like, oh, I definitely have not forgiven you because I feel triggered. I thought I did the work. I thought I had healed from this. And then comes in the guilt and the blame and the shame. And then comes in the shame for feeling shame because you thought you had forgiven yourself and that other person. Oh man, the tangled web we weave for ourselves, right? It doesn't have to be like that. Forgiveness, the first thing we need to accept is that it is a process. It is a journey. And sometimes we reach the end of the journey and sometimes we just are enjoying the journey. And we need to just keep moving, keep one foot in front of the other, realizing that as we journey, we are learning. And as we are learning, we are growing. And as we are growing, we are reaching our highest, best self. And for me, that is the ultimate goal, is to reach that soul level connection. And every moment, every setback, every moment that requires forgiveness helps us all get closer to that point. Bethany, I think, has her homework, and I invite you to take Bethany's homework and incorporate it into your own experience, because sitting and breathing is you forgiving yourself with every inhale and every exhale. Again, if you're interested in learning more about the exercises that we talked about in this episode, do go ahead and go to flourishmarketing.co/recalibrate and download our recalibration guide. It will help you. It is free. Thank you very much for joining us again on this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast. We are here every single Wednesday. I invite you to subscribe so you get alerts when we release all of our episodes. And I also ask that you leave us a review, a 5-star review, and talk about how this podcast has helped you in your entrepreneurial and life journeys. Until next time, my name is Alea Harris. This is the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast, and I'm sending you lots and lots of love, light, and abundance. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. Dive into the show notes at www.flourishmarketing.co/podcast and connect with Alea at Flourishing Entrepreneur on Instagram. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love, and be sure to click subscribe. From the entire Flourish Marketing team, we wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.